Have you ever asked an AI a question, gotten a super confident sounding answer, and then found out it was totally wrong? It's a massive problem, right? Even with basically all of human knowledge at their digital fingertips, our smartest AIs still just make stuff up. So today we're going to dive into why this happens, because a group of researchers from Google and a few universities decided to play detective and get to the bottom of it.
I mean, just look at this. An AI could spit out, "The creator of Autumn Leaves, Joseph Cosma, died on August 13th, 1896. It sounds so plausible. It's got the name, the famous song, a super specific date, but here's the thing, it's completely made up. This is a perfect example of what the experts call an AI hallucination, an answer that's delivered with total confidence but is just flat out wrong.
And that really gets us to the heart of the mystery, doesn't it? Why do these incredibly sophisticated tools, which often have direct access to the source material, get things so fundamentally and so confidently wrong? It's a real puzzle, and solving it is crucial if you're ever going to truly trust these systems.
So to crack this case, the researchers behind the study we're looking at basically put on their detective hats. They figured that to understand why the AI was making these mistakes, they first had to investigate the scene of the crime. The actual information the AI was looking at in the first place.
All right, so let's start with our first area of investigation, this strange paradox of the confidently wrong AI. We expect them to be these brilliant geniuses, but a lot of the time, they act more like that student in class who's 100% sure of their answer and is 100% wrong.
The best way to get your head around this is to think of it like an open book exam. See, a lot of modern AIs use a system called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG. It's a fancy term, but all it means is, when you ask a question, the AI first goes and looks up relevant info. That's its textbook, and then it uses that info to write an answer. You'd think, okay, with the textbook right there, it should ace the test every single time. But the reality? It fails. A lot. And it scribbles down the wrong answer with complete conviction.
Now, any good detective knows you need the right tools for the job. And in this case, the researchers realized they were missing a really critical one. So, what did they do? They went ahead and invented it.
They called their new tool sufficient context. And you can think of it like a special magnifying glass for information. Before they even look at the AI's final answer, this tool lets them ask a much simpler question. Did the pages of the textbook the AI was given even have the answer on them to begin with? It's such a simple but absolutely brilliant idea, and it changes the whole investigation.
And here's a perfect example of how it works. Let's say the question is, who is Leah Lell married to? If the context says Leah Lell married Paul in 2020, well, that's sufficient. The answer is right there, plain as day. But what if the context says she divorced a guy named Tom back in 2014? That's insufficient. It gives you some clues, sure, but it doesn't give you the actual definitive answer. The AI would have to guess, and that's where the trouble starts.
So armed with their shiny new sufficient context magnifying glass, the team could finally start the real detective work, digging into massive data sets to see what was really going on under the hood.
And let me tell you, what they found was genuinely surprising. They started uncovering these clues that really challenged some of our most basic assumptions about why AIs get things wrong.
So, the first question was pretty straightforward. When we give an AI one of these open book tests, is the book itself any good? In other words, is the context that we're giving it usually sufficient?
The answer, as you can see right here, is fascinating. For one dataset called FreshQA, the context is actually pretty solid, sufficient over 77% of the time. But now look at the other two, Hot Pot QA and Music. These are major standard benchmarks that people use to grade AI performance. And for them, the AI's textbook was insufficient more than half the time. That's our clue number one. A lot of the time, we're giving AIs a test using a textbook that literally has pages missing.
Okay, so that explains some of the problem. But that leads to the next logical question, and our next clue. What if we only look at the times the AI gets a perfect textbook? When the context is 100% sufficient, it should get a perfect score, right?
And this, right here, is probably the most shocking part of the whole investigation. The answer is a huge no. This chart shows Google's top-tier Gemini 1.5 Pro, and it's only looking at questions where the context was confirmed to be sufficient. And even then, it hallucinated, just made up a wrong answer over 9% of the time. Just let that sink in. The answer was right there on the page, and the AI still got it wrong.
So the big takeaway here is that the mystery just got a whole lot deeper. The problem isn't just that we're sometimes feeding AIs bad information. It's that even when we give them perfect information, they often fail to use it correctly.
This means just improving the information retrieval part of the system isn't going to be enough to stop hallucinations.
This discovery is what turned the researchers from detectives into teachers. If the real problem is how the AI uses information, then maybe, just maybe, they could teach it to be smarter about when to answer and, this is the crucial part, when to just say, you know what, I don't know.
So they came up with this really clever new method called selective generation. It's a simple 3-step process. First, they use an AI to automatically score the context. Is it sufficient or not? Second, they ask the main AI to give its own confidence score for the answer it came up with. And third, they just combine those two scores to make a final call. Is it better to give the answer, or is it safer to just abstain?
And the results were amazing. By teaching the AI this kind of self-assessment, they improved the accuracy of the answers it chose to give by 2 to 10%. That is a really significant jump in reliability, all from making the AI a little more aware of its own limitations.
And that's the real breakthrough here. It's a total shift in thinking. The key to a trustworthy AI isn't just about cramming more and more knowledge into it. It's about teaching it a kind of wisdom, the ability to know when it's standing on solid ground versus when it's on really shaky footing.
And all of this is pointing toward a pretty fascinating new direction for artificial intelligence. We seem to be moving away from the goal of just building an all-knowing machine and toward building something that might be way more useful, a self-aware AI.
So why does all this technical detective work actually matter to you? Well, because it means we're getting closer to AI assistants that are genuinely more reliable. It means fewer of those dangerously confident but wrong answers when you're asking for, say, medical info or financial advice. Ultimately, it's about building AI systems that we can actually start to trust, precisely because they're smart enough to know their own limits.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. As we build out this future, what's actually more valuable in the long run? An AI that claims to know everything, or an AI that has the wisdom to know what it doesn't know?